So what is really the difference between Hebrew Ben Sira and the previously attested manuscripts of Ben Sira, obviously coming from the Alexandrian tradition with the Greek and the Syriac being different as well? So, tell us a little bit about that.
I think we must see three different questions. Yeah. First, historical circumstances. Ben Sira published his book in about 190, 180 BCE. His grandson translated the Greek about 130, 120 BCE. And halfway these two dates, 190 and 130, the campaign of Antiochus Epiphanes IV, the Syriac, took place. And I think this event influenced the Greek translation of the grandson. Dus the Hebrew text is before this attack by the Syrians, so to say. The grandsons is after the attack by the Syriacs. So we have to study those two texts in their own right, as I mentioned before. And second, there might be differences between the Greek and the Hebrew because of cultural differences. Yeah. Ben Sira's document, the Hebrew, originated in, let us say, an agricultural and Jewish society, whereas the grandson's translation was realized in an urban Hellenistic society, namely in Egypt. And I have one small example that you can see it, the agricultural and the urban circumstances. In Ben Sira 3:9 might serve as a good illustration. In the Hebrew, it is said, and I quote, "The blessing of a father gives a firm root, but the curse of a mother uproots the plant." In the Greek, a father's blessing strengthens the houses of the children, but a mother's curse uproots their foundations.
Fascinating. Yeah.
So cool.
In the Hebrew, you see agricultural, roots and plants.
Right.
In the Greek, you see the foundations of the house and the fortification of the house. And this is a similar example that you can't say it is the same text. No, the grandson has translated it not only from the Hebrew into the Greek, but also from, let us say, from Palestine into Egypt.
Wow.
And so are many examples to see. And a third point to stress is from time to time there are marked theological differences between the Hebrew and the Greek. And I have one example, chapter 50, verse 22, at the end of the book, almost. "And now, bless Adonai, the God of Israel, who wondrously works on earth." The God of Israel who works on earth. And the Greek is, "And now, bless the God of all, who everywhere works great wonders." Dus the God of Israel has become the God of all, or the God of the universe, or how you make that. And also a theological, the God of Israel is now the God of all, or the God of the universe. And so you can always discover some small examples of how the theology of the grandson differs from the grandfather because of cultural, historical, societal, and so on differences.
It's brilliant.
Yes. About one about the Syriac is also interesting.
Yeah.
The Syriac dates about the 4th century AD. It's made from the Hebrew, but the translators had access to the Greek text, and the Syriac translators got its final form by Orthodox Christians. So the Syriac translation is made by Orthodox Christians. Because I have here 12 examples of how the New Testament text, or how New Testament text has been introduced into the Syriac translation. With examples of 1 Timothy, John, Luke, and so on. Reading the Syriac translation, you can see it must have been, in any case, in the last edition, by Christian translators.
Wow.
And therefore, I'm not a fan of putting the Syriac translation just up the Hebrew translation, the Hebrew text, because there are so many people between it.
Yeah.
There's every text, and that's my repetition. Every text has to be studied on its own.
Wow.
Wow,
Yes.
This is excellent. These examples are fantastic. They really help us see the differences on the molecular level.
Yeah.
I love that the difference between the agricultural Israel context versus it's almost like an urban versus rural context, and you can just see it on the page there.
It also shows something Matti and I say a lot, and we like to tell our students this, that every act of translation, there is interpretation happening, isn't there? And that is obvious in this case, that you see the different interpretive moves that are being made in the translations. So it's great.
Yeah, and I think this also shows the importance that translation is not just a matter of language. Let me look at one word. How do I understand this word in another language? Or if I want to edit something, I'll edit it, but realizing the culture and the history are just as important.
Yeah.
Because if someone didn't understand the cultural difference of Israel to Egypt, they wouldn't understand why are we uprooting a plant versus uprooting the foundation of a house? But as you explained, knowing the very rural versus urban context, it actually makes a lot of sense. So this is a great plug for, again, when we read text, let's look at the complete ancient historical, cultural, linguistic context.